Bingo, 3 o'clock rock. Here on a given Thursday. This is ThinkTech Global, because we're talking global today. We're talking about one of ThinkTech's 4 areas of interest, 4 principal areas of interest. I should say tech, energy, diversification, and globalism. This is the globalism part. And we are so happy to find people who actually work on that stuff and extend those ideas and are willing to come down and actually talk about it to permeate the public thought process about globalism. And that's Mark Ritchie from DBED and Jamie Lum from DBED. Thank you for joining us, you guys.
Yeah, thank you for having us.
So one of the big things, just to recap on something we talked about before the show, you know, is for 100 years, maybe 150 years, Hawaii was a net export state. And I guess we could have been, should have been, we were actually a little proud of that. We had high quality agricultural products and we sent them everywhere in the world. And you know, they provided a lot of jobs, a lot of capital concentration, a lot of good agriculture it was, and it organized the state. Look at how important it turned out to be, you know, in statehood, around the time of statehood, politically. But somewhere along the line, I guess you'd say the 60s or the 70s, right around the turn of the 70s, the plantations started going down, and really sad that only recently HC&S went down in Maui, end of story. You know, there's no more big agriculture here. So, you know, it started from John Burns, it went to Ariyoshi. We talked about it in the same voice as we talked about technology, about making agriculture happen again. You know, all the stuff on the Hawaii coast there in Kohala. Biogenics comes to mind, and the wood chip factory over there. And everybody was trying to grow everything and sell it and trying to recapture the glory days of, you know, export agriculture. But hasn't happened, and we're having a struggle even to make young people go and do small family farms. Who knows why? We should talk about that. But the idea you guys are focused on is export in general. And you are trying, as part of that same idea, to make us an export state again. And that's a wonderful goal. It's a very important aspiration because it gives us confidence, it gives us extension, it makes us realize our place in the world, it gives us that all-powerful sense of globalism, which we need so bad so we don't fold in on ourselves and just become consumers and boot-tube persons. So, how are you accomplishing this, Mark?
Well, there's a lot of moving parts there, and I think one of the things you talked about agriculture is I think it fits into the diversification priority you have to run the show as well, is, you know, diversified ag, you know, transitioning from, you know, traditional large-scale agricultural entities to sort of maybe smaller scale but higher value added. Since we're DBED, I don't want to speak for the Department of Agriculture, but we work with a lot of companies that are doing sort of high value added things with ag products. And so then taking those and then transferring.
For example?
You know, jams and jellies, or, you know, different types of products like that, that have can have a local market, but then also a market beyond Hawaii.
Yeah, yeah. A market that it's kind of, what am I looking for? A market that's special quality. It has Hawaii quality, like Okolihau, for example.
Right.
You know, it's a local product, but people offshore are interested because it's a local product.
Right.
You know, they want to have a little piece of the rock.
Right,
You know?
right.
And a lot of the markets are created by the visitors that come in.
Yes.
Right? They
Right.
start to buy it
Right.
here, and then they go home and
Right.
they want to purchase it there. So.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's a great way to do export. You know, it reminds me of a guy named Rick Davis who had a magazine called, I think it was Aloha magazine, and it was very glossy, and his mailing list were these blue-haired ladies in Minnesota who came out here for the winter time, and when they went back, all they wanted to do was look at pictures of Hawaii, and he had them on the mailing list, and he made his living selling pictures from Hawaii in this magazine to all the people on the mainland who wanted to recapture a moment in the sun. He wanted to capture the, you know, the quality of life they had while they were tourists here, and we can capture that in this way also, in local products. Yeah.
Right, yeah. There's a lot of goodwill associated with Hawaii
Yeah.
products, particularly in Japan, on the U.S. mainland, and other places.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, but I mean, I should clarify that we're not just talking about agriculture. We're talking about anything we export. I guess mercantile things that we export, as opposed to arguably tourism. That's arguably another export, but we're not talking about that today.
Right.
Yeah. even
Right.
though you do that at
Yeah.
DBED, yeah.
Right. Not us, though.
Right. We have a complete range of exporters that we've worked with or that we know of, everything from the kind of underwater sea software sort of things that's being sold in the Middle East to, the jams and the jellies being sold in Japan or something. I mean, it is a complete range, and our program is to sort of look at all sort of products and services, because services can be exported as well.
Yeah, it's hard though these days. I remember, to go back to the 70s when we were doing moo-moos on Kamoku Street, and they were, and it also drove off the tourism business, right? And people came for a couple of weeks, they saw the moo-moos, they liked the colorful clothing, and they took it back, but they also bought it.
Right.
And there was a market on the mainland for Hawaii, Tory Richard, fabric shirts and all that. And we don't have that much anymore.
Right.
And there was a factory recently in Kaka'ako that was doing, I don't know if you knew about them, clothing manufacturer, I forget the name.
We had some apparel companies, yeah.
Yeah.
There was a larger
They didn't
apparel
last
industry.
6 months, because it's hard to get the labor and it's hard to build the market.
Right.
And Hawaii's not known to be a manufacturing, industry anymore.
Right.
So your work is cut out for you,
And part of the globalism is also being competitive and staying abreast and changing with
Yes.
world dynamics and things,
Right.
and currency fluctuations and things like that as well.
So if I'm a young kid out of, say, Scheidler Business College, and I say to myself, I want to do export. Forget import for now. I want to do export. By the way, we're kind of promoting the Amazon Echo, which is right here on the table. I just want to have a moment with Alexa. Alexa, what does export mean?
Export has several meanings. As a verb, 1. Sell or transfer abroad. 2. Transfer electronic data out of a database or document in a format that can be used by other programs. 3. Cause to spread in another part of the world. And as a noun, 1. Commodities, goods or services sold to a foreign country.
Alexa, thank you.
My pleasure.
Okay, so it's a pretty
the fourth
broad
round.
range of activity, and it's not an easy task. In some ways, you have to recreate old industries, maybe like the garment industry, but you also have to build new industries that comport with all those changing factors in the world market. Yeah.
Right.
So, what kind of programs are you playing with?
Well, we have several programs. I think most of the companies that we work with, they start in Hawaii, although Hawaii is a small market. I mean, it's not that big of a market. And so what we want to do is incentivize people to think about, okay, they have their business model set up, they're selling in Hawaii, but now could I actually sell beyond Hawaii? And then that takes a lot of research, a lot of talking to people. We have a huge visitor industry, so that's a great test market. Are the people coming in from Asia, are they actually buying that product and taking back with them? That type of thing. And so we've put together it's called the Hawaii State Trade Export Promotion Program, which we just call HiSTEP for short. And the first component of that is a training component where we offer a number of sessions and modules on Oahu, but also the neighbor islands, where we talk about exporting, and companies join the program, and at the end of it, after a couple of months, they actually have a sort of go-to-market plan that they can execute on.
You work with them on that?
Yes, yes, DBED, and then also our partner organizations. And they get mentors and experienced exporters that can help, walk them through all the challenges, really vet their export plan so that the likelihood of success, or they're de-risking the program so that we hope they will be successful. And so that's the start of it. And then we have 2 programs which actually gets the companies into foreign markets or international markets, like a trade show, but it might be on the U.S. mainland, but there'll be a lot of foreign buyers and distributors, that type of thing. And the first one is Hawaii Pavilions. We take out in a number of sectors. We do, how many shows a year? Probably 8 to 10, maybe, where we have Hawaii Pavilions, where actually we'll take 10, 20, 30, even 40 companies into an international trade show, say in Tokyo, an international giftware show. And so we get the booth space, we sort of try to make it as hassle-free as possible, and then also
This is promoting Hawaii products.
Right.
So
promoting
you take a
Hawaii
booth
products.
at a trade show and all the Hawaii products are
Right.
there and
Yeah.
you're
So
promoting them.
we organize it such that it comes under the umbrella of Hawaii. So we try to make it look as much of Hawaii. We have a look to it as well. And then
A little
every company
tablecloth,
has,
a little-
well, you know, we have images of Hawaii. We have a big sign that says Hawaii.
Great.
And then because, you know, that sells too, just
Yeah,
the
yeah.
Hawaii. So we're branding everyone under the Hawaii umbrella, and then
Yeah.
they can have their individual products, you know,
Yeah.
for that particular show.
And then for those industries where we don't do the Hawaii pavilions, we have an individual assistance program whereby they can apply, and we offer up to a maximum of $6,000 to assist a company to go into an international trade show and get the booth space themselves and travel and accommodation to actually go to that. And then they have to do a match as well. But that's for, you know, we only have so many companies in certain industries in Hawaii, and it may be something very specialized show that they would like to go into. Maybe we have like one security software company that would like to go into a particular show that's an international show.
Yeah,
And so it's an easy application process. And so this incentivizes them after they do all the training, then to actually go into global markets and start trying to find you know, distribution, you know, reps, retail, you know, that type of thing.
I get from what you say, that when you got a product, you know a little about how to ship it, for example, and customs, whatever those issues are, and then I know they're complex. But then in order to get the point of the spear out there and your target market, you actually have to be on the ground or have your agents on the ground. And it sounds like, from what you say, correct me if I'm wrong, but the trade show is the best way to enter a market when you're trying to sell something to that market. Am I right?
It can be a great first point of entry, I think, where you
Yeah.
really get a lay of the land
Yeah.
and you get exposure to a lot of people at once, and also exposure to your competition and things. Now, hopefully, in the training, you'll have already worked a lot of this out, and you may even have some target, distribution companies or importers or
Right.
whatever the business
Direct
model
connection,
is,
yeah.
the direct connection, and know who you want to meet with and things at the trade show. But I think a trade show is a great first stop for companies just going abroad for the first time with their product or service.
Okay. So you guys go to these trade shows, or you just send the entrepreneur out?
We usually accompany them.
Oh, you do?
One or,
Okay.
one or
Okay.
two. Of
And you help them out
events.
in the discussion at the booth, so to speak?
No, that we kind of let them, handle on their own.
But you handle
But
the-
we actually handled all the logistics and everything beforehand, and then just make sure that that's going smoothly for them, so that they can just focus on getting those, potential customers or distributor, whoever it is that they want to meet with when they get to the show. So we try to make it less of a hassle for them in that sense, that everything's all set up for them. They just can come in with their product and focus on, meeting.
On selling.
Yeah, right.
Right, and that's
making
our
sales. Yeah.
right, and that's our metrics. Really, is to some shows are not real order writing shows, but others are, and to really look at the contacts made and sales immediately at the show, and then like a year from now, business deals, that type of thing, and that's for our reporting purposes, because then we feel we've helped companies globalize and expanded
Gotta
their
keep track
expanded
of
their
it.
markets.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, would it surprise you to know that ThinkTech would really like to go with you on one of these trips and stand around that booth with a camera and send a phone home? We're going to take a short break now. That's Mark Ritchie from Tibet and Jamie Lum from Tibet, helping Hawaii promote exports. We'll be right back.
Aloha! Please join the Hawaii Farmers Series every Thursday on ThinkTech. We live stream from 4 p.m. to 5 p.m. And we are...
Matthew Johnson and Justine Spiritu as your hosts.
And the purpose of the Hawaii Farmers Series is to get to know our local agriculture community a lot more, get their backgrounds, get their history, find out why they love what they do, as well as get some of their insights.
And insights into hearing about the future of agriculture in Hawaii.
So we're going to bring the experts on, but we'd also like you to be a part of the conversation. So you can always join us by tweeting in your questions and comment at ThinkTechHi. So we hope to engage with you. Thanks.
Bingo, we're back. 3 o'clock rock. It's Mark Ritchie, Jamie Lum from DBED talking about exports, Hawaii promoting exports, and we need to do that for sure. This is a worthy expenditure of your time, and it's a worthy expenditure of government money, our money. So this benefits everybody. We'll talk about that later. But so now we talked last hour with Norm Baker of the Aloha United Way, and we explored how you can do so much more if you have collaborative partners. And you guys are focusing on that because that's the way you do much more. Get out of the silo and talk across and share resources and ideas and initiatives. So who are your partners right now? I know there must be a lot of them, but why don't you just name a few?
Well, I guess we can start by saying that the majority of the funding for the program comes from the U.S. Small Business Administration. So we have a grant from them, and it's a competitive grant that states, throughout the nation apply for. And it's actually part of a pilot project or program that was started a couple of years ago, part of President Obama's National Export Initiative. So really the goal is to increase U.S. exports in general and then get down to the state level. So really it's sort of the federal government partnering with each of the states to try to get more U.S. products out into the world market.
Certainly a worthy national goal for sure. We've lost so much in the way of export in recent years. Right. So who else? Who else do you collaborate with?
It starts from there. Well, we have many partners. So we work with our own State Department of Agriculture because, as you mentioned in the last segment, talked about the agricultural sector, and they need a lot of assistance. And so they're working with us and doing some of the trade shows that are attractive to ag-related companies. So that's one. For the training, we've been working with the High-Tech Development Corporation, which oversees the Innovate Hawaii, which is the Hawaii MEP,
the Manufacturing Extension Partnership. They work with manufacturers.
Right. So they're doing, helping us with the training as well as...
They're your kissing cousin anyway.
Right?
Yeah, they're part of
HCDC is part of DBED.
Agency.
Attached to, excuse me.
And then, of course, another natural partner is our local U.S. Commercial Service, the Export Assistance Office,
that's an
John
important
Holman.
one because those guys are specialists in
and then
getting
also
overseas.
The HPEC, Hawaii Pacific Export Council, which is, like an advisory.
It's a trade group.
Right,
That's
right.
private industry, yeah?
Yes.
Yeah.
And these people have, years and years of international trade experience. So they're another partner with us on the training side.
So they all help you in this effort to train and to set
They
up.
actually do a lot of the training, the mentoring, and so forth, sharing their own expertise and their own, experience in international trade and trying to help companies.
So how long has DBED been involved in this effort? It must be at least a decade, huh?
Well, in terms of this STEP program, since 2011,
okay.
Basically that's when monies became available at the federal level. But DBED's been involved.
Before that, too.
Yeah, off and on, yes.
Different arrangements,
Yes,
but it was always a
yes.
big thing to try to,
Yes.
create exports.
Right.
And how well have you done? I mean, do you have metrics to tell me about how well you've done? How many companies have you helped foster in terms of developing a manufacturing enterprise here and in terms of selling overseas? I say overseas, I include the mainland, by the way.
Right. So did you
Well,
want
I just happen to. I can just tell you. Well, in the first 2 years
This is not
of
rehearsed.
But I need my notes. In the first 2 years of the program, we helped over 200 companies through either training or actually going to trade shows, and it generated export sales of over $26 million. That was reported back to us.
Over what period?
It's like a 3-year period.
Okay.
Yeah, basically from 2011 to 14, or actually 12 to 15, I should say.
So where is the weight of it? I mean, who would you say the plurality of these companies is? The majority even. I mean, who's in that number?
It's a lot of them are just the local, you mentioned the fashion, apparel.
Okay, right.
A lot of the locally made products.
Tourist type products.
Giftware?
Giftware, personal care products,
Processed
lotion,
food.
soaps.
Soaps,
Right.
food, suntan, whatnot, yeah.
Coffee, of course, all the,
Yeah,
so, and so these aren't large, large companies, not large industries, so,
But we are actually, this is sort of the next iteration, which we're just starting.
Yeah.
And then we sort of expanded the program with the individual assistance part of it. We really, particularly for the individual assistance, we're really looking at getting sort of maybe more non-traditional kind of Hawaii companies involved in this. And that means, maybe technology-based companies that are looking at exporting, software companies, the type of people that might be tuning in to Think Tech. And looking at expanding their markets, because I think a lot of them are already very globally oriented, even right from the beginning of developing their products. So we want to try to work with these companies as well and let them know that this sort of thing is available, and also service companies.
Just as a sort of backdrop on this, we interview a lot of scientists from UH, and they are exporting science, actually.
Yeah.
In the sense they're collaborating with
Right.
other scientists in the same field all over the world,
Right.
and they're sharing data, and by virtue of all that, they're getting grants. I don't know if you could say it's export in the classical sense, but they're certainly exporting their intellectual property in the
Right.
scientific world in the
Right.
network. But you're right. I mean, to point out that we need to move on this. It can't be all lotions
right.
and perfumes or
Right.
whatever you find. It's got to be something more mainstay. It's not going to be steel.
Right.
We don't want steel. I don't want
Right.
steel. Want steel? We don't want smoke in factories and what have you. But fashion is good, and indeed, fashion now. It's hard to say that any one country or city has a lock on fashion.
Right.
Any city could become a fashion capital, and we have a history of that.
Right.
From the old days. So that's a possibility. But what about energy? What do you think about energy? Because it's like tech.
Right.
We had a program last week in Waikiki. It was called the UC program, Hawaii Power Conference, and there was a fellow there from a company called STEM, and he talked about this new product they made involving an algorithm and some software and a battery, and how this would help the resident with the photovoltaic and all this, be more energy efficient. So I said to him, where was the software written for this program? He said, Silicon Valley. I said, why not here?
Right.
This is our thing. Energy is our thing more than
Right.
most places.
Right.
Why don't we write it? And in hotels, we have such experience in hospitality, and it's a big. Hospitality is a big data thing.
Right.
Why don't
Right.
we write that software and sell it to the world?
Right.
It seems to me there are, just as you say, Mark, there are things down the
Right.
pike
Right.
that are classier, bigger, more money, more more clout, more gravamen, if we could do them in addition to everything else.
Right, right. DBID also has a separate energy group within DBID,
course.
and a lot of their folks, they're doing a lot of things, but it's really to get us towards renewables. But they look at using, attracting kind of energy companies from around the world to Hawaii to use as a test bed. And so there's a lot of work in that. But any sort of local company that might be doing work in energy can certainly take part in some of these programs that we have in terms of exporting. And we are doing some, more kind of new technology sort of things with life sciences. We do go into the National Bio Show in
very
June.
important.
So we're working with JAPSOM, Cancer Center, UH, a lot of the spin-outs that are coming, and some of the professors that are starting companies and things like that. So we are trying to use this program to sort of get those, future industries, which are very nascent right now, but to try to help them and grow them in Hawaii.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point. On the biotech side, on the medical side, they're working on AIDS in the Hawaii AIDS Center,
Right.
AIDS,
Right.
HIV. And they might hit something. They're trying hard to find a way to kill the
Right.
virus.
Right.
And if they can do that, it's billions really.
Right.
And of course, exporting that is different than exporting widgets.
Yeah.
But you guys can still help them.
Right, right. For us,
Right.
what it is, I mean, when we're working with, you know, like the Jobson Cancer Center and you know, spin-outs and things, for us, it's still an export if they're bringing a lot of research money, you know, coming in, or they do a commercial deal with a large biopharma company that's going to fund a lot of stuff. You know, that is money into the state, and so we sort of count that in our, you know, on the ledger as an export. Yeah.
Yeah, well, you know what they say, 20% to content and 80% to marketing.
Yeah.
So, I mean, for example, if, who's working on this? David Watermull, I guess, and
Right.
what's his name, his company?
Oh,
Cardax Pharmaceutical.
Yes. Yes.
Or Elliott
Elliott Park.
Elliott
Yeah.
Park
Yeah.
and Hawaii
Elliott
Biotech.
Park will be with us at Bio.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
You know, if they hit one, like, you know, we got a big problem with dengue now.
Right.
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 And
Which is
Zika,
something,
you know,
right,
if they
which
can
they're working
do
on,
something, and
yeah.
now we're going to have a product that can earn us really a lot of money.
Yeah.
You guys will be there to help them, you know, propagate that
Right,
around the
right,
world.
Right. Right.
This
Yeah.
will be a real score, you know.
Yeah, I think people, because we've gone into the National Bio Show a number of years in a row, I think Hawaii actually does or is gaining some credibility. I mean, initially, it's, you know, people aren't like, what you're doing,
Some
life
say
science
they're
research in
right.
Hawaii, you know, the same sort of thing. But I think we actually are getting many repeat visitors. Deals are being done, and you know, I think that's something very promising for Hawaii, given, you know, where we're located, you know, tropical medicine, you know, that type of thing.
Yeah, and we have to capitalize on all our assets. You know, for example, every year in January, there's the Pacific Telecommunications Conference just
Right.
a couple of weeks ago. And it's famous for deals about telecom. Not only telecommunications contracts for, you know, dial tone and cable, but it's famous for making deals about equipment and about software. And we have a lock on Pacific Telecommunications Conference. People have been coming here for 38 years or something
Right.
to do this. And if we had a product, right, to say a telecom product that was designed here, or software that was designed here,
Right.
some kind of protocol, you know, we could sell it as an export item, and we have a natural channel,
Right.
and you guys could help them with that too.
Right,
It's
right.
all one family trying to do export of everything we can
Right,
export.
yeah. And I think some of the training that we do sort of initially, it really tries to help companies find what their competitive advantage is sort of in a global market, not just, you know, local market.
And the thing is, a local entrepreneur doesn't really know.
Right.
He's not an expert in that. He's a working stiff.
Right.
He sits at his desk, develops something, and he doesn't know how to get overseas, and you can help him
Right.
with that. Yeah.
Right.
Okay, we'll take a moment for a break. We'll come back. I'd like to talk about this from his point of view.
Okay.
What is his experience with you? Maybe you could think of a case study, some actual case that you've had, and talk about how he needed help and how you provided it and how it worked for him. Okay, that's Mark Ritchie and Jamie Lum from DBED, Hawaii Promoting Exports. So important. We'll be right back.
Aloha, my name is Reg Baker, and I'm the host of Business in Hawaii with Reg Baker. Business in Hawaii is a program that is positive stories about business in Hawaii. We're tired of hearing the negativity and why it's the wrong place to have a business. We talk about the positive reasons for having a business in Hawaii and how to be successful. We broadcast live every Thursday at 2 o'clock. We look forward to seeing you. Aloha.
Hi, I'm Donna Blanchard. I'm the host of Center Stage here on Think Tech Hawaii. I hope that you will tune in and watch the show. It is inspiring and uplifting and educational also. We talk with artists of all different ilk. We talk with them about what they do, how they do it, and most importantly, most dear to my heart, why they do it. And it never ceases to be fascinating when you get the answer to that question. I hope you'll join us on Center Stage, 2 o'clock Wednesday afternoons. Aloha.
Oh, we're back. 3 o'clock rock. Okay, so we try to think of if you can share the name, let's use the name of a company that actually went through the pipeline on this. How they started, how they came to you, what their problems and questions were, how you were able to put them in the right place, okay?
Well, one of the companies that comes to mind is the T-Chest. Byron Gu. They have a tea company. He and
Local
his wife.
company.
Yes, local company. I'm not sure how long they've been in business, but for a while. And of course, he has a good local market and mainland as well. But I know he was looking to get into the Asian market.
What do they do?
You know, the tea.
They grow tea.
They mix teas with local flavors, with local flavoring and so forth. And so I know that he took advantage of the Export University, which takes you through the training that we're talking about, sort of the nuts and bolts of exporting.
Courtesy of the council with some of the businessmen there.
Right.
That's good.
And then some of the upper level training, as we like to talk about, with some that are more market specific. And then he's been, Teachus has participated with us at the Tokyo International Gift Show for, I believe, 4 years now. But I know that he's, again, I don't have the numbers in terms of, how the company's grown, but he has said that his distributor has gotten the product out. He has a distributor.
In
They've
what
been able to
country?
get,
What country?
this is in Japan.
They have tea in Japan.
And yeah, so to bring in, from outside, I think
It's
that's
an exotic
right,
thing, yeah,
right.
yeah.
And the Japan market is willing to pay a premium price too for
They pay premium
quality,
for everything
for
combined,
quality products.
including water.
But his other, besides getting a distributor and getting his product into the stores, he was also looking to kind of get his tea served in restaurants. And he said that he
Sure.
made a contact, someone that came by through the gift show, and now his tea is being served in Tokyo Disney.
Wonderful.
So,
That can't be bad.
right.
Does he still talk to you?
He does, yes.
does.
I believe he's going back to Tokyo probably in
It
September.
just occurs to
And
me
that's just
that
one
it's a period
example.
of gestation kind of thing. Is when they hit their stride, when they get going, when they get in the restaurants and, all over the target community, they can fly. It's the caterpillar to the butterfly, right? And then they can go on their own. And you have given them birth somehow in the international export sense. That's great.
And then there's, I'll mention another company, Bubble Shack, just because the reason why they too, Ashley and Holly, have taken advantage of the program with Export University, the training. And, but this is a company that went to the Tokyo Gift Show for a couple of years. Maybe the first 2 years, I think he said, he didn't, they were meeting people, but they didn't see anything. But the third year, then they started to hit and get more sales. So the one thing with the Japanese market is it does take time, and it takes some patience and
Yeah.
persistence. So,
Yeah.
so they're
Gotta be
seeing
determined,
success,
yeah.
but by sticking with it, sticking with the program.
No, I imagine on the flip side of that, there are some who didn't stick, who couldn't make it. You probably see them too once in a while. They come, they try, it's complicated,
Right.
it's over their head somehow, or they don't have the resilience to deal with international issues,
Right.
and they fail.
Well, they have to, one of the things I remember from the business of exporting, Mike Sikarsky, who helped us with that program
said
from
at
the
this
Hawaii Pacific
table
Export
many
Council.
times,
Yes, he with David Day. If you have excellence at home, you'll have excellence in exporting. If you have mediocrity at home, you'll have mediocrity
That's a
in
fair
exporting.
statement, isn't
So
it?
you
Yeah.
really have to make sure that you're, the things are running tight. You're running a tight ship, and things are going well locally before you can think about exporting. So
Yeah.
I think some people look at it as maybe, that's going to be sort of the golden ring, and then they see that there are other
Yeah.
issues that they have to face.
To
Maybe
get them to stand up and do it again,
Right,
though. Yeah.
right. So, every company's at a different stage, and sometimes they have to give it a try and then maybe take a step back and.
Yeah.
and
But that's what the
re-
training for too,
Right.
is to try to de-risk some of
Right.
it so that they don't go waste a lot of money, on one market where, maybe it's not the best for them.
Sure.
And that's why kind of the feedback they get from experienced exporters or,
Exactly.
using the Foreign Commercial Service. I mean, they can actually contact.
What does the Foreign Commercial Service do for them?
Oh, they could actually, through the Foreign Commercial Service Office here, they can actually, email and ask questions about certain market things. There's a charge, but there's also what they call a Gold Key program. It takes start out a couple months earlier, but in advance. But then you can actually go to these markets, and individual appointments will be set up for you and things. And part of our assistance program can pay for that, like a Gold Key service.
Right.
that,
Making meetings, especially in Asia, is a big deal.
yeah.
It's not like you can get on the internet and find your market. It really helps to
Right.
sit down for coffee or a meal and exchange cards and go through that whole guanxi thing.
Right.
Right.
And in Japan, the same thing.
Right.
Right.
And as a result, the U.S. commercial service is very valuable because they have the Rolodex on that.
Right,
Right,
right.
right.
They're on the ground, they're there. They have people that work for them locally that are,
Right.
that are in country that know these, get to know these
Yeah.
companies there and can really do this business matchmaking with the U.S. companies coming in.
It's great that
Yeah.
they do that, and it's great that they're here and you can talk to them, and it's all connected. The people here know the people in Asia, so.
Right.
Also about, also sort of putting your export promotion plan together. One of the things that, that people have to be realistic about is it does take time. I mean, in my past life, I've dealt with Japanese companies and things and actually done deals, but it took like a year. I mean, it takes a while. And so that
Well,
is.
to do what?
Oh, I'm sorry?
To do what?
Oh,
I was going to ask
to
you, how long
actually
does it take?
to actually sign something where you were getting funds, you're getting money. It can take a while, and I think that's sort of a realistic thing, depending on which market you're going into, and that sort of putting your your plan. And so as a company, you really got to make sure that you have enough financial wherewithal to be able to sort of see the plan through, because it doesn't happen overnight.
Yeah. So, last few minutes of our show, I wanted to ask you what I told you I would ask you, namely, why do we care what you are doing? Why do we care? The average guy walking down Bishop Street, who is not necessarily an entrepreneur, who is not necessarily a fellow who wants to do, import, export, or rather export either to Asia or to the mainland. He's just doing his business. Why does he care?
Well, I think
You guys wanna
we're
put the coin
increasing we're increasing the size of the pie for Hawaii.
Yeah.
The amount of money coming
If my
into
friend,
Hawaii.
if my friend, the entrepreneur, makes a buck being an entrepreneur, why does that help me?
Because there's a multiplier effect. I mean, that person goes on and buys things, they invest in things in Hawaii. I mean, we all sort of know that our wages are lower here than the West Coast, but our cost of living is higher, and this is trying to grow that pie, and it's all about sort of prosperity for Hawaii.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I mean, I think we have some statistics in terms of, the exports that are generated generate so much in sales and jobs and, tax revenue. And so, I mean, those are the kinds of things we're trying to do. It, like Mark said, it filters throughout the economy,
Builds the economy.
Yes.
Yeah.
And the money,
Yeah.
builds it and filters through, so.
It reminds me of military contracting. Years ago, local companies, they don't want to do military contracting. It was too complicated. And indeed, you had to go through all these directives and books and regulations and read all this stuff, and it was impossible to figure out how to cut a path. So the big military, defense contractors, they had the market, and local guys couldn't get in. Then somebody said, gee, we should read the books. We should read the regulations. We should, get through the gauntlet, because there's actual money out there. And all of a sudden, you saw a lot of local contractors, even today, who make their living dealing in military contracts, either as direct contractors for the government or subcontract.
Right.
But to me, I suggest to you, the same thing exists here. Is if, a lot of people are afraid they're going to lose their okoliha. If they do business, for example, in Asia, because they get skinned alive and lose everything and get ruin their business, go bankrupt, all that stuff, because they're not prepared for it. They don't know the rules. They don't know the rules on our side or their side, import, export, all those rules, and they don't do it. But if my friend down the block does it, then I talk to him, and I have a coffee with him, and he tells me, you know, Jay, it wasn't that hard. And I got DBED to help me, and I got SBA to help me, and I got the Department of Agriculture and MEP and Commercial Service to help me. I got to be knowledgeable, and it gives me confidence. Therefore, it gives the community, the economy confidence that yes, we can. And I think that has to be a big factor in what you're doing. You're giving us a level of confidence, yes, we can. We're not stuck. Thoughts?
Well, I think that's a part of what's built into the training program, and with people like those from the Hawaii Pacific Export Council, they can share their experience. They can, you know, the ups and the downs, the highs and the lows. But with their success, they can, you know, cheer these companies on and say, you know, if you just are persevere, you know, you can be successful. So I think that the mentoring part and so forth is very important to just getting the message to the companies that, you know, if you stick with it, it's going to be worth it.
So you guys going to stick with it?
Yes,
Yes.
well, we
Yeah.
hope so. I mean, yeah.
They're all in.
We're all in.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, we hope to. I know right now what we're doing, it is based on a Small Business Administration grant, but we hope in some form or other to sort of keep programmatically
momentum
this going. If it's state funds, if we have to produce stuff, we have to charge more, whatever, but, you know, to keep this program going, because we don't want to be here. It's like, you know.
Right, it's not a
Yeah, we have to
political
keep,
thing.
you have to keep at it over time.
Well, wish you well. We're with you on this. We want to see it
Right.
expand and create all kinds of new opportunities for Hawaii. It's got to be in the 21st century. We got to look overseas and be global. Thank you so much, Jamie Lynn.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Great.
Ritchie.
Thank you very much.
All right, come back soon. Tell us more.
Okay, love to.
Aloha.
Thank you.
Hello, everybody. I'm IC Davidson. Thanks for tuning in to Think Tech Hawaii. One of the things that we do here, or the thing that we do here, is promote civic engagement in Hawaii. What does that mean? We want to talk about things that people want to hear about, and we want you to engage us and be part of that conversation. One of the ways that you can do that is by joining in during our live show via Twitter. How do you do that? Well, you get on the interwebs and get Twitter, get an account, and mention us if you have a question. What you'll do is you tune into our show live, tweet us questions, and our hosts and guests will address them accordingly. It's really easy, it's really fun, and I think that your participation in what we're doing here will help us continue the dialogue on very important issues that we're trying to cover. Sustainability, clean energy, you name it, we're on top of it. We want you to be part of what we're doing, because together we'll be able to make things change. Thank you for watching. Think Tech Hawaii, thinktechhawaii.com, weekdays 12 to 5 p.m.